Welcome to another spot interview of NeverEndingPanel.com. We're here with Joseph Kerezman of J. Kerezman Costumes.
He makes guns!
He makes lots of things, but you may have known his costumes, if not knowing Joseph, from, for example, he did the costuming for Star Trek Next Generation. He also did one of my favorite shows. It was only around for a year, Space Above and Beyond. You also did, from my understanding, there was a pilot for Galactica before the Galactica that came out that I understand you did the costuming for as well.
I was a costume designer for Richard Hatch's attempt to bring Galactica back before the Sci-Fi Channel version.
There you go. So,
and I worked on 3 episodes of Next Gen. Data's Day, Devil's Due, and The Wounded.
I love Devil's Due.
Oh yeah,
it's hilarious.
It's still cool, man.
That was just fun.
So, look, so much of science fiction. Well, can I start doing the professional interview thing?
All right, go ahead.
She was hot.
Yeah, sure.
Anyways,
for a devil.
So yeah, well, what devils aren't hot? Man, you got to see the devil we wrote in our book, and that's a shameless plug.
New book? Okay.
Yeah. So much of science fiction is about costuming and people dressing up and props.
The guns.
The guns, and here you do it professionally. So why don't you tell our viewers, what that world's about, what that's like to do it for a TV show. Also, I mean, you also for your own show for Star Trek Excalibur, and you have a business in which you sell the stuff out for people who have passions about things they might not be able to find. But dial us in, man.
Well, it's like anybody that goes to conventions, which I'm sure most of your viewers, there are costumes everywhere. Costuming has been part of science fiction conventions since Forrest J. Ackerman showed up, I guess, in the first convention costume in the 40s or the 50s. You know, a very Buck Rogers-ish thing, if I remember correctly. And everybody tries to make their own costumes.
And there a picture of it?
No, it was a picture in Starlog.
Oh, okay.
But
we like Starlog. They gave us a good review.
Yeah, they're not around anymore.
Well, they are around as a website.
Oh, cool. Well,
there you go.
All right. I was a subscriber since issue 1.
Wow.
But when I first started going to conventions in 1979, which that's a long time. I was 15 years old, Starfleet captain, and it's like I have pictures of it. And it really didn't look all that great, but like everybody else, I had fun dressing up as my favorite characters, and eventually I went from I do recreation costuming, and I've dressed up in everything from Starfleet to I dressed up as Tom Baker's Doctor Who, and I have a picture with Tom in my costume to prove that I dressed up like that. Cause
that's like geek credentials. You should know.
Yeah,
right.
Yeah. If you a picture with like I did take the wig off. I took the wig off.
That's geek accreditation. PhD.
But
PhD geek.
I just decided a few years back that it's like I would share I was really good at making recreation costumes, but taking a photograph. I mean, I love doing superhero costumes. I'll take a drawing of a superhero costume and I'll bring it into the real world. It's like I'll take a TV show that I really like, such as Lost, and I figured out exactly what jumpsuit they used on the show. And
I gotta ask you this.
Let him finish the sentence before you ask him the question.
Well, and I do custom embroidery, so I embroidered the patch and I embroidered the pocket, and this is 100% recreation of the jumpsuits from the Dharma Initiative from all over season 5 of Lost. What you're wearing here is a ship trooper from the original V in 1984, and I actually own an original costume. I own one of Mark Singer's of this exact costume, and so this is an exact recreation. The jumpsuit should actually be orange, but everybody's TV it looked red, so I just do them in red. And you had a question?
Well, I had a question. When you're doing this, is this easier to do because can you just go to a manufacturer, buy the jumpsuit, and then all you have to do is...
Well, as far as the Dharma Initiative, yeah. Because they used a specific thing on the show, and as a recreation costumer, my job is to match as close to humanly possible what was on the show, and I try, and because I've worked in the industry, and like I said, I've worked on Star Trek Next Generation.
So for you, it's just adjusting the pockets and putting the things where they are.
It's making all the necessary changes to make it as close to what they used on the show as possible, because that's what people want.
That one
this was made. I buy a generic jumpsuit, but the vest and the gauntlets that aren't here that go with it and everything, all that stuff is made from scratch, and using all the research I have. Megabytes of photographic research. I have 3-inch thick notebook just on research on the Star Trek uniforms alone, going all the way back to the original series.
And you don't get Lost or ABC or I don't know what network runs Lost.
Well, actually,
they don't bother you about, hey man, you're selling our stuff. We want some kickback.
ABC people that work for ABC and that work on the show have bought things from me. so it's
that would be a no.
Yeah. So, But mostly it's just, I sell a lot of accessories that will allow people to make their own costumes too.
Speaking of accessories,
Well,
how's the gun business?
Well, it depends. I have a few prop maker friends that supply me with stuff, and I sell it for them. This is actually not a for sale piece. This is the phaser rifle from the upcoming Star Trek Excalibur. This was designed and built by Scott Brodeen.
For people who don't know who he is.
Scott Brodeen is a professional prop maker. He's working with the with Mike Moore and Steve Horch at HMS. And he has done props, everything from Next Generation to they did some props for the new Star Trek movie and just about everything in between. And if there's been a major science fiction film in the last decade or so, the guys at HMS are pretty much probably have a hand in it.
Got it. What has been your most difficult
Costuming, propping.
Costuming, propping,
The thing you look back on
how am I going to do that?
The thing you look back on and still.
I think making the Klingon pattern for Roddenberry.com. It's, even though I had an original costume to work with, it is like one of the most complex costumes to put together. I don't do stuff like like a makeup, what I consider almost a makeup look, like a Batman suit, because Batman's like all rubber now. So I don't do the rubber work, but it's like if it's cloth. I worked on the American version of Red Dwarf that never made it to air. And
I saw the YouTube version of that.
Yeah, Mike Moore and I, we did Crichton from beginning to end. Worked with Robert Llewellyn from the British show, who came over to the U.S. to do that.
You got that exactly right.
Oh, well, according to him, we got it a lot better. Because Robert's book, Man in the Rubber Mask, there's a whole section just about the American Red Dwarf, and a nice big section where he talks about the difference between the effects people in England and the effects people here in the United States, and that there is no difference. And he said that he went to some warehouse district where he would expect Danny Glover and Mel Gibson to be having a shootout with drug dealers, and he said that he talked to a bunch of people who said, Robert, we want to make you as comfortable as humanly possible, and then we encased him in plaster. And he said a man with a beard said that. I have an autographed copy of Robert's book that apologizes that he forgot my name, because I was the man with a beard in Robert's book. And we made the costume. He went on and on about it, and he went back to England and demanded that they copy our suit as closely as possible for the new series. That would have been Series 6, because he hated his suit from the Series 5 and 4 and 3.
So to sort of close off, what advice would you give to fans out there who might want to get started in creating their own costumes? Things that you learned along the way, like if only I had known.
Well, first off, they should probably contact him at
costume.com.
Oh, there you go.
And if you just want, I do recreations for everything from Star Trek to Star Wars.
Right.
To
So
V
for those of you out there
Boston.
who have been looking for that outfit, that patch that you can't find at any con, you can actually call Joseph or email Joseph. He might be able to actually recreate it for you from scratch.
I do custom-made patches as well, and if it's something I haven't already done, I'm more than willing to take the suggestion to do it up for you.
So what would be the advice you'd give to somebody starting out?
The best advice I can give anybody that wants to do recreation costume, who just wants to make it their own, if it's a Star Trek costume, the patterns are available at costume.com. But the most important thing is do your research about what you're doing.
Do your
Get
research.
Pictures. Yeah, I cannot stress research more. The more pictures you have, the more information you have about what the original costume looked like, the better your recreation of it's going to be at the end.
Right down to the point where if they took a picture on the TV screen and you can freeze it and look at the thing in the mirror behind, go for it.
Yeah, any pictures. I mean, there's enough original costumes up for auction right now there, and hundreds of costuming websites where people that own original costumes put pictures up there. It's like they're an invaluable resource for recreation costuming.
Joseph, thank you so much for being on NeverEndingPanel.com. We really appreciate it.
It's a lot of fun.
Hey, Tom, nice meeting you.
Lizard guy.